a designer and sort of creative working in a financial company. Why is that? And what do you do there exactly?
I don't really know. I just started. No, but I think the thinking behind me joining is that, and we're like the venture team of a pretty big financial house, and as we will sort of explore investment opportunities and stuff like that, we're just setting up right now. Design, in sort of from many perspectives, is more and more important, both from a product perspective, that people actually sort of use whatever is out there in a preferred way, but also from a branding perspective. So someone who was insightful enough to sort of realize this decided that there should be a design partner in our team.
And what kind of stuff do you think you will be investing in at the
mainly digital stuff, like tech-enabled stuff, digital products.
And do you think that design has become more important in the tech world than it was? Is that why they hired you, or has it always been important?
I mean, I think if you look back like 25 years and look at digital products, the only thing you had to do to sort of create a superior experience was to add more engineers. If you look at, for instance, the difference between like Windows, 1.0 and 2.0, the big difference between these platforms is like Windows 2.0 obviously was easier to use, but I don't think it was easier to use because they added like experienced designers and stuff like that into the team, but rather because like processors were faster, maybe color graphics emerged, stuff like that. But now it's not about adding sort of more megahertz and more gigabytes, but rather about sort of thinking about the end user and designing experience around him or her, I think. So yes, I think there is a big difference.
On the topic of sort of experience design, you run an experience design firm. How do you define experience design in the context of Doberman and what you guys do?
I think this is a perfect example of people wanting to interact with companies both physically and digitally and in whatever future ways that we will see. So I think this is kind of the digital world maybe maturing into being part of our everyday lives, as well as we need to bring the old school companies into digital. It's like the digital meeting the physical in the same kind of way, and making sure that we are meeting all customers in the way that they prefer to.
So tell us a little bit about what Doberman does. What is your offer, and what kind of clients do you work with?
So we work with a lot of old companies who need to transform because all their customers are now having new behaviors and they need to have great digital products. So we help them transform through products. And that makes all of their organizations need to change their offering, and by showing both the organization and the customers what the new version of the old company would look like. It's one part of what we do. The other part of what we do is actually working with startups and make their ideas come true with design. Not in the beginning, maybe not even using that much of technology, just to see, is this a product that is feasible? Is someone going to buy this product? And we find from our work in New York, where that is really a part of a lot of portion of what we do, that design brings a lot of value to startups. So I'm hoping that we will see more designers working in the financial world.
Magnus, when you started Wästberg, you wrote this amazing manifest about the sort of changing idea of light. Obviously, lights have been around for a while, but you've kind of added design and really kind of exploded. Can you tell us a little bit about how you look at technology and design and lighting and design?
Yeah, I wrote a manifesto that I called Lamps for Neanderthal Man. And that was kind of trying to sum up in a very untechnical way my experiences and my observations of the lighting industry, which is quite conservative actually. The lamp for Neanderthal Man was a way to try to talk about light and not only about technology, because the lighting industry seems to chase technology and do things that are possible, not thinking about why and for who. So I was trying to think about, okay, how has the human species lived and interact with light for many years. So, and if you look at the human DNA, that didn't change too much for 300,000 years, whereas our relationship to light has changed immensely. I have a friend who usually says that what's technically possible is not always humanly preferable, and I think that's a really good approach in a way. So what I'm trying to do is to take the technical heritage, but then to add more, let's call it emotional or aesthetical values to that, because when it comes to lighting, it tends to be either or. It's either very technical, or it's more aesthetical in a way. So try to really value these two qualities, so to speak, and value these equally in every single aspect of a product development.
And you, David, you guys work with design and sound a lot, right? That's kind of the two things that you bring together. Can you tell us a little bit about how you approach your products and your design?
Yeah, we work with technology and audio and sound in different shapes or forms. We're doing synthesizers and speakers. We like to say that we don't really do design. We definitely don't add design. Rather, we design the features that we need, working from the product and trying to create an experience more than anything else. And a lot of it has to do with how it all comes together, how the different parts, the audio, the visuals, the functionality, the physicality can become a unity that is easy to understand.
You just released your new project. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know it's super secret, or has been very secret, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, we just at the NAMM show in Anaheim in January previewed the OP-Z, which is our new product. It's we're a little bit trying maybe to use the word multimedia. I'm not too sure about that, but it's an audio and video synthesizer where we try to put equal emphasis on the creation of visuals and sound and music, and all of that is synced and done through the same unit.
Can you just tell us how you guys got started and sort of what the thinking behind the company?
Yeah, we started as a consultancy firm. We did work for Absolute. We've been doing things for Sony Ericsson, New Balance, and that kind of stuff. And then we realized we could do our own products as well as doing products and installations for others. And then we did the OP1 portable synthesizer over there. And that was very well received. So we continued with other products in the synth area, as well as a wireless speaker, the OD11, which is a recreation of old Swedish classic hi-fi design from...
Yeah, tell us how that came about, because they went out of production in the 70s when he died, didn't he?
Yeah, this is a model designed by Fredrik Carlström, and his line of speakers were very successful here in the Nordic countries. And then all of that disappeared. He passed away in the 90s. And we've been toying with the idea of doing a wireless speaker for some time. And by chance, we got in contact with the Stig Carlson Foundation and mentioned this. And they said, why not recreate one of his designs? And we were super happy. So we got access to like the old drawings and all the acoustic knowledge that we didn't really have. And we added the electronics and streaming and kind of the digital part of it. And it looks more or less exactly as the old one, which was one of the key things for us in this project.
What was the key thing? Is the orthoacoustic sound? Can you just tell us what that is?
Yeah, acoustically, that's a really interesting idea. His idea was that a speaker should sound good in a normal living room, whereas most manufacturers measure in these anechoic chambers, which looks like these space places where nobody lives. And they measure super good and sound good there, but when you bring them home, it's a different game. So instead of doing that, we measure in a normal living room and take into account the reflections you get and let the speaker play upwards, so it spreads the sound in the room. And it creates not this little tiny sweet spot in the middle of the room, but instead the whole room sounds equally good.
So Lisa, it seems that there's or at least one of the ideas behind Austere was that there's a disproportionate amount of great companies coming out of this part of the world? You know, for a small region, we have a lot of amazing stuff. Why do you think that is? Or first of all, do you agree? And then secondly, do you have an idea of why that might be?
First of all, I agree, and especially when it comes to design and the kind of broad sense of design, which we all represent, and also when it comes to innovation. And I actually think it's kind of our business culture where we are more into doing great stuff than maybe promoting it. And maybe in other parts of the world they are better promoting maybe not as good work. So if we could get a little bit more help from people like you and everyone here to show the good stuff, and also continue to do good stuff and make things rather than promise in beforehand, I think that's a great thing.
So what do you think about what do you think it is in the business culture that makes it sort of a fertile ground for innovation and design?
Oh, several things. I mean, we've been very good engineers and grown a culture of engineering. And if we can combine that with that culture of design that we had before, and I think that we could still promote a little bit more with the less hierarchical organizations where I think we still are good in listening to coworkers' ideas and making them into great things. And also, it seems like we're not bullshitting that much and more into creating stuff. Having that said, I still think there is a lot of meetings that is unnecessary in this country as well. But maybe it's that. And I see so many things where we need to continue to do this. Like, I don't think that we should stop doing great engineering, but what if we could combine that with the startup world or the creative world? And what if we were talking about different mixtures of people in Sweden that could create even more interesting things? That is what we need to do to stay competitive.
Sort of building on what Lisa said, do you think that there's a reason we're good? Do you agree with that? Do you think there's a culture here that sort of promotes innovation and design?
I mean, I think we're good, and I think that shows. There is like a huge number of people and companies and ideas coming out of this very small region of the world. And I've been thinking a lot sort of why that is, and a lot of reports have come out around that, and we've even looked into that ourselves. And it's very complex, I think. It's I think the engineering culture, it's there. I think it's about like early role models. I think it's about like infrastructure. But I don't really know what it is. But it's interesting that we need like an braggy American to come here to sort of put the spotlight on what's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the idea that the sort of Scandinavian design was born out of this sort of, I mean, if you go back, and I don't want to be too academic, but this idea of austerity, and that's kind of where we got our name from. But you know, I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the best lights are made in a place that's dark all the time. I mean, so the question then becomes, how will sort of Scandinavian design evolve when we are traveling more and we have people coming here whose last name isn't Svensson, and maybe the sort of the nuclear family isn't quite as homogenous as it used to be? Do you think that, you know, in a more global society, do you think Scandinavian design, sort of anchored in functionality and a certain type of material, will evolve? Do you think we'll see new types of design coming out of Scandinavia?
I think it is evolving all the time. It's just look at this table. But it's interesting because when you talk about Scandinavian design, you think about furniture and you think about like the more old physical sort of world, and you don't necessarily think about UI design or digital services or tools. But I think it's just a matter of time. It's happening slowly, and when you go to, I mean, you live in New York, and when you talk about sort of Scandinavian startups there, I think we have positioned ourselves as very good at experience here. And I mean, you at Doberman, you help some of the world's leading technology companies with, in a way, like applying a Scandinavian sense of design, and it works really great, not just on physical objects, but also on digital.
So what do you think those values are? I mean, if you think of a chair or something, a piece of furniture that might be very clear, kind of, it's made of birch or it's a certain type of stuff, how do you apply that to UX design? Or I guess the question is, how do you see the traces of Scandinavian heritage in something that isn't physical, in an online environment?
I mean, to me, it's usually very functional, and it's usually very. you apply sort of design with like an engineering mindset onto something in a good way. That could be done in a bad way as well. But it's very calm, and it's not very loud. Sort of the whole packaging is very calm and austere in a way, I think.
I mean, a lot of time when you hear people, especially abroad, talking about Scandinavian design, this idea of democratic design comes up. You know, a lot of our more famous companies are obviously IKEA and H&M, and they make sort of nice design for the masses, if you will. But both Teenage Engineering and Wästberg are luxury products. I mean, they're not cheap, right? How do you reconcile it? Are we now entering into a phase where Scandinavian design also becomes luxury? Do you think?
But yeah, I guess maybe our products. We put a lot of stuff in them, and the price comes from that. We don't want to make luxury items per se. It's not something we strive to do. Different products will have different price ranges for us, depending on how much we put into them.
How about you, Magnus? Your things are also not cheap.
No, but price is a relative factor, of course. I have this discussion often, but for me, price is the matter of what it costs over time. So we don't set out to do luxury things or expensive things. We set out to do good things, and good things cost, but over time, again, the cost is lower.
What's the process from idea to finished project?
Well, growing up and seeing my father's business, there was two ways of doing a product. Either a designer came to the company and said, "Hey, I got this great design, would you produce it for me?" Or the company would come up with a mechanical feature or a lighting technique that they would give to a designer, which would more or less package it. And I don't really like either of these approaches. So in most cases, I would say that the products begins with an idea within the company. And then depending on what the idea is, I reach out to some, because we work with external designers. I reach out to some external designer that I think is the correct person to work with on this project. And then we work pretty much hand in hand from day one, developing the product. And depending on what kind of product it is, we have a lot of different competences. We work in a lot of different materials. We're starting to get into electronics. Light today is lighting, or artificial lighting used to be a fire, then it became electric, and now it's actually electronic. So it's a huge shift, and it requires totally new competences.
We hear a lot about sort of design thinking now being applied to companies that maybe don't design at all, or even governments and organizations are using that kind of terminology. Do you think that the value systems and the kind of the heritage that goes into products in Scandinavia can spread to other areas?
Yeah, in so many ways. So you talked about this democratic design force in Sweden. I think that has taught us to have an eye for what is easy to use and appealing to have. And that is kind of, from a society point of view, we do have this eye, I think, first of all. But then also, since we have this culture, and here comes the co-creation of doing things that we actually are better equipped to do. So I think that since design thinking for me is a much more efficient way of doing product development, or making a company more modern, the way of working, which is also, I think, a design feature or a design process, is helping us a lot. And for example, when I apply this to an American company, they think that we are so radical in our collaboration. And I'm just thinking, no, this is like how we do work in Sweden. And then when you apply kind of the design thinking, where you actually expect the user, all employees, and the boss co-creating at the same table, then we are so far ahead.
What's the culture at Teenage Engineering? It's obviously super engineering-led. How do you guys develop new products? How do you work together? What's your process?
Yeah, we're quite engineering heavy. I mean, we're called Teenage Engineering and not something else, not Teenage Design. It's probably a very open culture, I would say. But also, I think we have clear leaders for all areas and a lot of respect for for those decisions when there is a decision. I think the kind of flat organization and openness is good and very typical Swedish. But then it's also important to have somebody taking the decisions, and so it doesn't become like everybody has equal say on everything and nothing ever gets decided. So yeah, I think we have very clear roles when it comes to the kritan, to the point.
So wrapping up, I wanted to ask you, all of you, is there anything this week that you're excited about, or that you're going to, or any show or anything like that? Maybe not, but if there's anything in the design week that you think someone should go and check out?
To be honest, I've kind of just been working, so I don't know. This is the only thing I go to, and it would be kind of weird to recommend you to go here because you are here. But go here now. It's cool.
Okay, I have the same boring answer that, but I think it's interesting because I'm also the chairman of the Swedish Industrial Design Foundation, so I should be more connected to this. But I think that the Swedish Design Week needs to shape up when it comes to service design and digital design, so that I would feel more connected to this week than I actually do.
I didn't have had too much time to run around the city, but the fair is actually quite good this year, so I would actually say the fair.
Yeah, same for me. I've been working all week. This is the first time I'm out of our office.
That's amazing that you came out. Well, with that, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you guys for coming out from your, under your desk, working all day long. We would like it if you could pick out a book, any book, as a small token of our appreciation. That will be our gift to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.